If you're a nurse working in the NHS and you're struggling to understand the NHS banding system, stick around while I explain the entire process and the different banding system that we have in NHS as of 2024/2025 period. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Nkem. I'm a YouTuber based in England and I do a lot of video on fashion, beauty, lifestyle. And I'm just giving you this information because I'm a nurse, I've been in the system, and I feel like it's going to be very useful for a lot of people who are looking into starting a career as a nurse in the NHS. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing, and let's jump right into the video. In England, they use what they call the NHS banding system to determine the salary that we pay staff. In the NHS, we have bands from band 1 up until band 9. This video is specifically for the nursing staff, and I'm just solely going to focus on the nursing staff because that's my profession. And I feel like this video is going to be very helpful for people who are new and just getting into the NHS. We have sort of evolved a lot from the point when I did this video the last time. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it somewhere up and on the screen for you to go and have a look. But yeah, I feel like it needs to be updated. By the way, the government, there's a pay rise that's supposed to happen annually. We're still waiting to hear if there's going to be a pay rise for 2026 period. But there's nothing out there yet, although there have been some rumors that there's going to be a 3.5% pay rise. This is why there's constantly strike every single time in England, because we feel like healthcare workers are not being supported as much as they should have been supported. Now, one of the recent news that we've also had is the Prime Minister mentioning that they are going to shut down NHS England, which is a private body that sort of sees to the affairs of the NHS. The NHS and NHS England are two different systems, or should I say two different bodies, so just bear that in mind. And he has promised to put back all that funding to the people that need it, aka the healthcare workers, but we shall see how that plays out. For nurses, you start from band 5 obviously, so I'm going to start by explaining the banding and I'm going to break it down for you. Most times you have band 1, 2 and 3 under clinical support workers or healthcare support workers. I haven't really seen anyone who's a band 1, but I've seen a lot from band 2. So a lot of the band 2s and band 3s are clinical support workers, or what we know as healthcare support workers. They tend to assist the nurses and the rest of the healthcare team. And it's not just the healthcare support workers. We have the phlebotomists also starting, I think, at band 2 or 3, thereabout. And we have a lot of the pharmacy technicians and stuff like that, all start from a lower band. Now, moving up to band 3 for senior support workers or a more senior staff would be positioned at the band 3, if that makes sense. Not quite as high as someone who is a band 5, but higher than someone who is a band 2. You kind of get that little teeny bit, on top of that. For people who I've seen as support workers at band 3 are usually those who work in A&E, or people who work maybe in ICU or work in theatres with a bit more experience when it comes to things that they do clinically. For band 4s, we have some nurse assistants, nurse apprentice at band 4s, and depending on your trust, if you're an internationally trained nurse waiting to get her PIN, some trusts may start you at band 4, some might start you at a band 3. So the level kind of varies. If you're also a nursery nurse or a school nurse, sometimes they tend to start at a band 4. Let's get into the real gist of the actual registered nurses with a PIN, fully qualified nurses with a PIN. They tend to start at a band 5. Now, we have three different points when it comes to the NHS. There is an entry point and a mid-level point and at the highest level. And the way this works is that every year your salary is kind of increased. Sorry, not every year, every 2 years the salary is sort of increased to the next, not to the next level, but to the next point. So it takes about maybe 4 years for you to get the midpoint, and about the same for you to get up until the highest level point. So for band 5 nurse, your entry point is at 29,970. So this is a step up from what it was from last year. For mid-level point, it is 32,324, and for the highest top point is 36,483. So let me break it down for you. If you are a registered nurse at an entry level, you'll be earning £29,970 per annum. That's it, per annum, and this is before tax. So essentially, if you divide this by 12, you'll be earning around 2,400 plus minus tax. By the time that your taxes get withdrawn, you might settle for around still 1819 kind of level. So that's how you're going to know exactly at what point that you're going to sit at. These figures I'm giving you are all before tax. After tax, the salary tends to drop a little more, and it just depends on what you pay. Aside from the NI and the payee tax, they can also deduct your pension, except if you opt out of pension, but that's a different conversation altogether. The next is a band 6 nurse. Band 6 nurses are more of specialist nurses, charge nurses or deputy nurses. So if you work on the wards, a band 6 nurse are usually like your nurse in charge who kind of sees to the day-to-day running of the ward. or it could be for specialist nurse. For example, if you're an oncology specialist nurse, you start from a band 6 after you've done the core courses that you need to do for that specialty. For a band 6, the starting salary is at 37,338, and after 2 years you're eligible for a pay progression, which will lead you to the intermediate step point of 39,405, and again after 3 years it now goes up a bit further to 44,960 per annum, and that is the top point for a band 6. The next one is a band 7 nurse. Again, band 7s are more of a managerial position and specialty positions as well. So for most specialties, the best way for me to explain it is it's more managerial. Most ward managers are all band 7, and most specialty managers are also band 7. Band 7 entry point is at 46,148, and after 2 years again you will get a pay progression and you get up to 48,526, and after 3 years you get to the top point, which will be 52,809. So this is how the pay progression is kind of stepped or arranged as you progress. Another thing that I feel like is important to point out is that for you to move up on the ladder from a band 5 to a 6 or to a 7, it's not something that is automatically handed over to you. It's not handed over to you, it's something that you have to fight for. It's a jungle out here, okay? Nobody ever gets the position handed down to them, except in some cases, which I don't want to get into for this particular video, okay? I have seen newly qualified, 6 months into qualification, they are promoted to a band 6. I've seen it happen, but I've also seen people who have been band 5 for years, and even with all the experience, it feels like it's very hard for them to see that progression. The advice I would give you is that if you're looking to progress in your career and you're looking to move up from either a band 5 to a 6 or from a band 6 to a 7, you need to figure out what specialty that you want to be in. You need to figure out where am I, where do I need to be, and how do I get there. You need to be able to ask questions. Whichever trust you're working in, explore all the different departments or specialties that are available. If you have days that you've got day off, so you're free, you can offer to do shadow shifts. You can go and see what they do in the department and see if it's something you'd like to do for a long time. And once there's an opening there or any job application you see there, apply. Make sure you have qualifications and you have training that will cover you for that specialty. Make sure that when you're applying, your CV is structured, you're hitting all the essentials and desirable that is required for that job. Make sure that your supporting statement is top notch, and make sure that you prepare yourself for the interview for the job that you're going for. Like I said, no one ever hands it off to you, especially if you're a migrant and you're trying to find your fit. It doesn't matter how qualified you think you are or how much of a good of a job you think you're doing. Sometimes it's really difficult for you to get that progression that you're looking for. So just figure out a target and just don't give up and keep pushing until you get exactly what it is that you're looking for. Let's move on to a more senior position. There are different jobs that you can do. There are different people that are categorized as band 7s or different specialties. So you've got ward managers that are band 7. You've got specialty clinical specialists that are band 7, like respiratory, endocrinology, oncology. They're all like progress all up to band 7. You've got site managers also, they have band 7, and sometimes progress up to band 8, I believe. So for band 8 position, the starting point is at 53,755. Another thing to note is now that the tax is about to increase, the tax here is about to change and it's about to increase. Just know that once you get to 50,000, you are joining the 40% tax bracket. Essentially what this means is that after your first 27,150 or thereabouts, 20% is gone. Everything else that is on top of that will be taxed at 40%. Just thought to drop that out there so you're aware. So after 2 years, your progression as a band 8A is 56,450, and after 3 years, your progression gets up to 60,504 pounds. Again, you will know your total take home post-tax after the tax has been deducted, but for now, this is before tax. The next stage is a band 8B. For a band 8B, you have the starting point at 62,215. After 2 years, the progress goes up to 62,246, and after 3 years, it goes up to 72,293. Essentially, it takes you 5 years to get from the starting level up until the top point, as long as you stay on the same band for that 5 years. If you, for example, move from a band 5 to a band 6 in like 2 years, automatically you will still earn higher, but you will go back to the starting point as a band 6. And then it starts to count every 2 years for the first 2 years for the intermediary progression, and then the last one. Band 8C starting salary is 74,290, and after 2 years you move up to 78,814, and after 3 years it moves up to 85,000 pounds 601. The next one is band 8D. So you have, which is so weird, but we'll get back to that. Band 8D starting point is 88,168. After 2 years, you move up to 93,572, and after 3 years, you move up to 101,677. And after that, you then get to your band 9. It's so weird because I don't even understand why we have to have band 8 split into A, B, C, D. But I guess that's life and all the politics attached to it. Band 9 is the highest level you can attain to as a nurse, and this comes to your nurse consultant level. We have a few specialties that have nurse consultants, like in oncology, in obstetric, midwifery, and stuff like that. Entry point band 9 is at 105,385. After 2 years, it progresses to 111,740, and after 3 years, it progresses to 121,271. I've barely seen a few nurses who had gotten up to a band 9, but yeah, that's it. Anyway, I just wanted to give you this information on the different banding system and what it is. Obviously, by the new financial year, we would know, which is technically next month, we would know what the new rates, if there's going to be any pay progression, and what the new pay rise would be. And sometimes what they do is, if there's been a new progression, whatever the backlog is, they will pay it at a certain point within that year. Anyway, I hope this video is helpful. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, tell me what you think about this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.